and welcome to
Magus of the League Live.
I'm Lee, and this is my co-host / co-Magus, Chris.
Hello.
We are here live for you today from the store, face-to-face, our official sponsors of the league, to address a couple of things. But the reason that we're here primarily is because today was the top 8 mega draft for Chaos League.
Was it ever?
It was a beast.
It was a bloodbath.
It was a bloodbath.
For both of us.
Yeah, so first of all, we have some business that we have to take care of.
Well, what's that business?
The Peters business. So before we announced the champion of this league, we forgot on camera to announce the champion of last league.
Yes, a special viewer brought it to our attention that we may have forgotten to announce the Guilds of Ravnica winner.
So that winner is?
That's Niv Richard himself, which is
he was
just off screen. He's actually holding a gun to my back.
My co-guild mate.
That's right.
The Niv Richard. I was the Raul Zarek to his Niv Richard.
You were indeed.
Yeah. That was an interesting league, but officially on air, he was the champion. So congratulations to Richard.
It's very humble of you to admit that on air.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had to swallow your pride and
I didn't even play in that one. That one felt less bad than this one. I should have just not played this one either.
So anyway, yes, that happened over the holidays. That was an error of omission. Sorry, Rich, and anybody else at home who might have been deeply offended by that omission. But here we are.
So moving on. Today was the top 8 Chaos draft. We already talked a lot about strategy in the last episode.
We did.
We're in a place where we're ready to announce the winner of. So this year's winner, this Chaos draft, this league's winner was Maxime.
Maxime Ravik.
So congrats to Maxime.
Yep.
And we actually have a special segment due to that. Chris, you took the time to interview Maxime.
I did indeed.
And that'll be coming up right after this.
He took some time away from being hoisted on the shoulders of his cheering fans and friends, weeping family members, and spoke to me at length about his strategy going into the Mega Draft finals and actually for the main league.
Starting now, you can disregard everything that I said last week and just take everything that he says as for granted in the next Mega Draft.
Yeah, in fact, Lee, if you could just leave for this segment, that'd be great.
So, so that'll be up in a second. But before that, and then just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're going to talk about for the rest of the episode, I can tell you for now, I'm not going to comment on the rest of the Mega Draft, having had an abysmal 0-3 performance, having done no games except for one game against Maxime. But I really scrubbed out hard on that one. I'm still sweating from the bath that I took in that one.
Yeah, I got to say, I mean, I had one job, and that was just to crush your dreams at that point.
Yeah,
and I was happy to do that job.
My dreams were already
I was happy to do that
job. I thought you
job.
were kicking a dead dog, you know? Like,
this is my want.
Anyways, and then after that, later in the episode, what we're going to talk about is the draft picks that I did.
Yep.
So we actually have some footage of
you broke a record going into this league. You had the highest number of wins pre-finals. So
and now you can watch
points.
how I messed that up with my draft picks. So we'll comment on why I was doing what I was thinking. Honestly, at this point, I don't know if it was good picks, but we'll have some commentary on that. And we'll also have some commentary. We won't be able to see me opening my pool, but I have some commentary of the cards that I opened that will be interesting for you guys, and that'll be our whole episode.
There you go. Enjoy.
So enjoy Maxime and his interview with Chris. I'll see you guys later.
We have with us Maxime, who just took down the Chaos Mega Draft. We're going to pick his brain. We're going to find out what it takes to be a champion of a very strange format, a format that possibly has never been played before in the history of the world. So what was your approach to the generally speaking? Always chose control. Every game, every match. I think it's
when you mulligan to 6, so much
Yep.
Also, it helps
Unless you have more information, I suppose. In terms of the packs that you had, so where did you start, where did you end up, and why? So in terms of your ads.
I started by adding like sets that have good cards.
Cheap sets.
So Battle Bond has some powerful cards.
Yep.
So
That's true.
It's not a massive set.
Yeah.
Seriously take it around. Oligarch, Common Area, Tower Deck.
Yeah, me too. I made that mistake as well. Also Masters, it was the new hotness in the middle of the league, and we were like, everybody wanted to add it, but it may not have been the right play in the end. I ended up using zero of those guys. Oh yeah. That sounds pretty good, yeah. Pretty spicy. Okay, so shifting gears now to the
Ouais, si vous voulez jouer, allez-y, je pense
we
que
made it all the way to the Magus Finals. Today, we basically started off ground zero. We had some points of the major tournament. This is in itself its own kind of event. We had to build another 60-card deck out of nothing. So, what was your first open and where did
No, well, Gorgon?
I passed you a what?
The rare Gorgon from M13.
I passed you the rare Gorgon. Yes,
yeah,
I
that
did.
6 mana 3/6 depth touch that petrifies the thing.
And you rated that very highly.
Yeah, I took it over Sarah Angel.
Really?
Oh, you passed that in Sarah Angel.
I passed that in Sarah Angel. There's two mistakes I made in one pack. So if you're counting. So did you end up using the Gorgon to your advantage?
Fortunately, I never got to cast it, but it would have been good.
Yeah. Repeatable removal is good.
Actually, Gabriel used it against me. He played Dead Man's Chest on a 3-power creature I had, and
Yep.
he played it for 6 mana eventually.
Okay.
Yeah,
So about what pack into the Mega Draft did you know what colors you were going to be?
I would say in the second pack,
Okay.
I
So by
already
the end
had-
of pack 2 or the beginning?
Probably in the middle of pack 2.
Yeah.
By the end of pack 1, I had some cards in all the colors, but I was mainly in black with like some not so great cards like Rotting Mastodon and some other not so amazing black cards. But then I got more removal, like the 5-mana removal spells from Origins and one from M19 as well.
Right.
And I got some other burn spells as well. I don't remember which packs, but I got like Fight with Fire, Bathe in Dragon Fire as well, Pillar of Flames. I ended up with 12 removal spells. So.
Who was your most difficult opponent today?
Lee was the hardest because he actually managed to beat me. Game one, he had like a very aggressive red-white deck, which was pretty good. But my deck was very well situated against his because I had multiple 1 and 2 mana removal spells against his like 1 toughness creatures.
Okay.
So game 1 I managed to like twin bolt 2 of his things and kill some other things. Then I gained some life. I think a lifelink thing. No, I didn't have. I gained some life from a card.
Sure.
And yeah, I just managed to beat his things with bigger creatures.
Okay. Last question. We promised the people your origin story, so outside the world of Magic, what do you normally do? Where are you from? What brought you to League?
Well, what brought me to League was that it seemed like a very fun format because I love drafting, and I also like constructed some formats, and this seemed like a good way to have both.
Yep.
Because I usually don't really like Seal as much because the first you only have 6 packs in like 4 rounds. You don't get to change much, and really your 6 packs determine whether or not you'll do well. In this format, I feel like it's you get better since you lose more.
That's
You
right,
get
yeah.
better if you lose more.
Right.
So that really helps, and also goes on for a while. That's fun.
And outside of Magic, what do you do normally?
I figure skate
Okay. I didn't know
times
that.
a week. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I used to do some other things, but that's basically what I do.
All right. Well, Maxim, thanks for showing us how it was done. Congratulations on your victory. Enjoy your trophy, sir.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this special segment of Magus of the League. It's just Lee here. I'm going to give you guys a special treat for this kind of special episode that we did live from the Mega Draft, where I review just a few of my picks from the Mega Draft, and where you'll also kind of see a speed through of me picking my draft deck as it goes along. Now, I do want to specify that I went 0-3 with this deck, as I mentioned in the episode, so it might not be the best indicator as to why your choices and what you're doing, but just kind of wanted to give you a look at Mega Draft for those who've never done it, and to give you a kind of a clue in my thought process as I was going through it. So maybe there's some insights that you can pull from it, and maybe there isn't, but at least it hopefully will be entertaining. So let's take a look at this. So starting off here, we're actually kind of already deep into my draft. At this point, I hadn't really prioritized anything, but I started to get, and I found out this later, is that the opponent to my right, Vincent, was actually feeding me red. So let's see if we can find a pick that kind of determined me going into that color. So here you'll see me just kind of reviewing my original pile. We missed a lot of my drafts, but my picks, but I picked up a Lightning Helix and a Lightning Bolt early, which kind of like led me down the red-white path, but I was still picking blue just for card draw and for a Jeskai splash if that was what's going to come up, because you are drafting like 5 packs. So your options, you kind of need to stay open. There are multiple lines of thinking in this regard. Like I like to draft kind of good quality removal and draw early and then focus on some creatures later. But yeah, see here you can see at minute 2:54, just going through my packs, I already have the Lightning Helix. I don't think I have the Bolt yet, but I know that I get past a late Bolt, which really pushes me down that red path. So opening my second pack, you'll notice here that I pass up. This is an interesting one because I pass up on an Izoni because I already know, because of the Lightning Helix, I'm kind of committed to Jeskai, so the Izoni's kind of on the opposite end of my spectrum. But the Boros Challenger is a really nice 2-drop that would fit perfectly in my deck, and I actually passed up a Righteous Blow to take that over it, just to kind of curve out, because that's one of those premium creatures that I was going to look for. So yeah, passing the Izoni, maybe not the best choice in terms of value, but I think the Boros Challenger was kind of where I wanted to be. So that is an interesting pick right there. So at this point, you can see that I'm looking at through my packs, and I've started to build out this kind of Jeskai aggro deck. I picked up a Fiend Slayer that someone passed earlier to kind of get a low curve in white, Lightning Helix, some good blue splashes. And I picked up a Treasure Cruise. That was my pack 1 pick 1 that we didn't really see, just for that value. So I was kind of looking down a Jeskai line, and as you'll see, like I kind of rearranged my packs, and that was because I was pushing my Battle Bond down the line, because I knew that in Battle Bond there was a lot of warrior synergy, so I wanted to see if I could get a lot. Like at that point, I already had the Bloodlust Insider and a couple of other warriors that I was looking for, so I kind of moved it down the line to see where I could go get some warriors. So this is me opening this is my Dragon Maze pack. And here's an interesting pick too. It was probably a wrong call at the time, but I had the rare, the Call of the Worm, that gives me the worm, and also I picked open a foil uncommon Boros card. It was a Minotaur. I can't remember really what it did, but you'll see here what I do is I prioritize a kind of a strange pick, but basically it's a Surge card, but the ability was +1/+0 First Strike for 1 mana and Overload for 2. So in a kind of red-white aggro deck, my general idea was like giving your entire team +1/+0 First Strike for 2 mana would seem to be a very powerful common, and it was already in the colors that I was wanting, so I could utilize that for a lot of different options. But I probably should have prioritized some higher, stronger creatures before prioritizing those tricks that would push through. So that was just my choice that you'll see me making here. But I thought it was an interesting choice to review because it was one that I was pretty happy about at the time. That might not have been the best decision. So here's another pack that I wanted to touch on. Not because of the pick. The pick was interesting. It was a Frenzied Goblin, kind of fitting into that red-white archetype that I was trying to build out at that point. But there were some good options in blue. The reason that I wanted to touch on it was because it was a Masters pack. And something that was pretty significant in this draft was that we each had at least one Masters pack in our pool, and the rest of our packs were either old sets or currently standard sets, but there was one Masters. And prioritizing when we opened our Masters packs, it really varied from player to player that I noticed. But getting that power level, I think getting that power level early on was what I should have been doing. If you look in my set, I actually prioritized it last. But the thing is there was a lot of flexible cards that I didn't take into account for, that I assumed that I would be able to pick up off other people's Masters packs. But if I had opened my Masters packs a little bit earlier, I might not have been prioritizing the picks that I would in certain colors. But you can see here as I go through my deck that I'm starting to build out my curve in red-white with a little bit of a splash for Jeskai, giving myself some room. I think also one of my mistakes was maybe not playing some of the cards that I had drafted that had priority. Like you won't see me build my deck, but one of the things is I went pure red-white for consistency. I didn't play that Treasure Cruise or some of the Jeskai cards that I opened from the other con sets that might have been really powerful. This was probably a mistake because I probably wanted to go get some of that power level, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So this is an interesting pick. What's interesting about this pick, this was another Masters pack that I got past. And there's a lot of interesting cards that kind of fit into my deck, like Chandra's Outrage and stuff. But you'll see here what is interesting about this pick that I don't think was the wrong pick is I actually prioritized a classic Disenchant. Now, in League and in Draft, Mega Draft, there's a lot of powerful artifacts and enchantments that go around, and prioritizing some Disenchant, just even if it's for sideboard or main deck, getting one or two, like Invoke the Divines or Disenchant the classic, just good ones in your colors, like mine was white in this circumstance, is not a bad idea. So Naturalize and stuff like that, picking those up when they're going around, even if it's at the cost of another removal, because you'll see plenty of removal in creatures, but enchantment or artifact specific removal is very rare, even in a number of 5 packs. So that's a scarcity resource that I think, that wasn't necessarily a bad choice picking that up there. Just as an answer for some of the more powerful artifacts and enchantments that might be waiting for me in the draft. So this guy's is actually a really interesting pick, and this is a rookie mistake on my path that I'm willing to admit. I actually didn't even notice this at first when I first saw it, but you'll notice that my opponent Vince, this was what I was talking about earlier, put a lightning bolt right at the top of the pack for me. And that should have been a clear indicator to me that he was feeding me into red. Now, I don't think picking the lightning bolt was the wrong choice because it's just a flexible card in my colors. It was really nice, but it really gave him an indicator of what I was picking into, and how he could feed me further down the line to get some better picks that he want. And me and him discussed it after the fact, and he was actually pushing me into those colors. So that was just a really interesting kind of pick. That was a rookie mistake that you can see. Not all the comments are good comments, obviously, because I went 0-3, but you can see, like, if your opponent passes you a premium piece of removal like a lightning bolt or a diabolic edict at the top of the pack without shuffling, it's probably an indication that he's trying to feed you. So you kind of might want to react and take a step out of those colors to maybe just get something. I should have probably been prioritizing maybe more of my blue splash at that point. So that was just a kind of interesting little tidbit that noticed after the fact and after discussing with Vince. But for strategic purposes, that's what we call those indicators or flags that you can use in draft to kind of help yourself perform better. But I don't think ever picking a lightning bolt when you're already in red as one of your colors is a bad choice. But notice what your opponents are doing is a good way to help yourself improve. So I'm definitely made a note for myself, and we'll see and if I can do better in the next one and if I can catch those kind of flags. Okay, so here I am just about to open my Battle Bond pack. Reviewing my deck. If you notice, at this point I'm pretty comfortably in my curve. I have quite a few warriors. I'm just looking for those payoffs now. And I made, I don't know if this was a bad pick. So I had the Goblin Raise Runners and the Minotaur that triggers with warrior synergies. I picked the Raise Runners just because it's a bomb, even though I didn't even see it throughout the entire draft by playing my matches. But I think taking the Raise Runners was a good pick, and then hoping that the Minotaur would be good, but that's unfortunately not what happened. in my next pack here, I believe I take the Bathe in Fire just as removal. As I can see, I'm pretty heavy into Wed. Although I was debating the fixing to kind of do a red-white better fixing and go into Jeskai. But since I was headed down that red-white path in the double-colored, I think I prioritized removal over that. But, that's kind of an example of looking for those payoffs in packs. You can do that in League. I know there's a lot of talk about League right now. So if you're in Simic or in Gruul or in Orzhov, where should you go for better payoffs in the different planes and all that type of stuff, and mana fixing? And you can take those lessons and apply them directly to the Mega Draft too. Especially like in the Mega Draft, you pick your orders. Typically in a standard Mega Draft, you pick your packs in the order that you want them. You pick them in the order that we play them, so chronological order, so you can know what payoffs are coming up. And in this particular draft, in the Chaos draft, what was interesting is that we got to choose the order we were opening our packs. So I actually moved my pack of Battlebond around to push priority onto those bombs later in, like the payoffs for warriors and stuff like that. So interesting, just kind of a little nugget there. And we're moving on. So here, guys, you can see this is a pretty good view of my deck and what I was trying to do. It's just kind of a red-white aggro with an option to splash into Azorius. And as I was looking at my deck, I was kind of considering where I wanted to go for my last pack. I felt pretty happy about my deck at the time. Erroneously, I'll say this, like it was a mistake. But I felt pretty happy with where I was going. I had a strong creature base curving from 1 to 3 mana, a lot of burn, some decent removal. I was trying to do this low to the ground aggro deck. So at that point, I was like, I'll save my power for my last, try and pick up just some power from other people's Masters pack and see what I can get. Especially since at that point, people had been feeding me red-white the whole time. So we were actually only 2 players at the table in red-white. So I was really hoping to pick up some bombs late and kind of fill out my deck in that regard. So unfortunately, it didn't pan out as well as I'd hoped. Looking back now, the lesson that I learned is, there's the key core component of your deck, I think, should be those 3-drops and 4-drop creatures. And in League, that's the case too. You want a good curve, but the curve is much more like a bell curve. If you go too low to the ground, unless you have a specific plan that's going to pay off with going really wide, you can get punished really hard just by getting bricked out by virtual card advantage of some really big creatures. So this was my rip of my second to last pack. I opened a red bomb, luckily, that I'm going to put in my deck, but I think things could have been way worse for me at that point. So just an interesting pick right there. And you seeing me make the decision process in regard to what my pack was. And you can see at this point I've firmly committed, but I'm still picking some splashes as we go into the second pack. I took a cancel just that it could be a splashable card for some big answers and stuff. So I'm still picking kind of Jeskai, but in my mind at this point I can tell you I'm confidently sitting in a red-white aggro deck, which also I guess is probably another lesson that I could have learned from that Mega Draft was just, in my mind, I'm committing to this red-white Mega deck that you can see how I'm organizing my cards. But I probably could have gotten some extra power level by going 3 colors. You got to pick that balance between consistency and power. And in the Mega Draft, especially with all these Masters packs in the Chaos Mega Draft, there was definitely some big power to look out for. And in the League decks that I've been seeing in the current RNA League, there's definitely some power to look out for. So if you can prioritize a little bit of power, I think maybe that would be the right way to go. And I think that's kind of where I was lacking. But that's a lesson learned, You can't win them all, and this was only my second Mega Draft, even though I've top 8'd 3 times. I had to skip the last one, and I'll be even more prepared if I make it for the next one. So I think there was a cut of sequence here, but you didn't get to see me rip my last pack. I'll just talk while this kind of speeds through to the end of my draft here. So just a few lessons learned from the Mega Draft. And, talking with some of the people who placed higher than me and some more experienced players, because of the format of a Mega Draft, if you get there, one of the interesting things that I learned was, so in a regular draft, you tend to prioritize your bombs, your removal, your evasion, your aggro, and your dirt, the bread, the typical, that's the heuristics that we all learn to kind of help us get through in a regular draft. However, in the mega draft, Vincent was kind of telling me, it's a smart idea to prioritize fixing. And I agreed with him on that. So basically, you still want to prioritize your bombs to kind of go get that high level of power. But if you can go get a lot more fixing, because of the sheer number of packs that you're getting passed around, and eventually, people are going to start locking into their colors and you'll see a little bit more removal. Prioritizing some fixing early will give you access to more colors and more power and more combos and all those kinds of things. So, I thought it was kind of a really interesting nuance that it came to, the mega draft versus regular draft. So that was the first kind of pointer. The second one that I already mentioned a little bit earlier is basically, like I said, the bulk of your deck in a limited format should be, other than your bombs that you want to kind of play as many as you can, creatures in the 3 to 4 casting cost range, those are your bread and butter. Having a thick number of those, unless you have a plan to ramp or something like that, I think that's really what's going to get you there. And virtual card advantage is a real thing, because if I lay down 3 1/1s in the first 3 turns, and then you just drop a 3/3 that I can't get past, and I'm losing value by just throwing my guys into a wall, it's pretty interesting. So that is just kind of a little note. So anyways, guys, I'm just going to say thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this kind of like little color commentary to add to the draft. I know that we also have a segment where you guys can see us talk about me opening my sealed pool in RNA. It's a little bit of an insider of what I've got going on so far. At this point, I've ripped a lot of packs, so I'm not ashamed to say, that I'm not really playing that original pool. But I hope you guys had a really nice insight of what Mega Draft is, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks with Chris back into our regular kind of programming for Magus of the League. Just leading into this segment, we have a special treat for you. As mentioned in our intro, today we are doing both a Mega Draft, and I'm opening my Ravnica Allegiance sealed pool with Chris here to commentate. So in your typical sealed pool,
yes,
you'll have a promo, which based on the rules committee's decision, you can either play with or not. In this case, we cannot, so we will be putting that aside and not using it. And 6 packs of the current set, which is what your opening pool is. Now, you're not restricted to that during the league, but this is what you got to start with. So let's give it some opens.
All right.
Try and keep it in the shot.
Let's see. Let's see what Lee gets.
This is, now you know all my kryptonite right away.
Oh, yeah.
So
you pay the cost for being the boss.
Yeah, put the token and the guild gates aside. So in this particular set, when I was playing sealed at pre-release, I noticed you kind of want to put it with the guild colors, right? Because where you're going to get your most energy is your guild.
Yeah, that's the power.
Yeah, that's your power. So anything that's single color I put aside, but I like to put my guilds together right away, just so I can see where I'm going. So like that's a good card.
That is a really good card.
And Cindervines is decent.
You know what? I looked at the art of that all wrong. I thought that this guy's mouth was actually his eye, and he was wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it's actually not like that at all. He's wearing some sort of building for a hat.
Yeah. I mean, the artwork on him is pretty sweet. I think his whole body is actually a building. Like if you look at his wrist brace and his shoulder pads, it's like it's a church. He's just destroying a church.
I missed the rare there. What was the rare of the pack?
The rare is Cindervines, so it fits into Gruul.
All right.
So now, you got a couple. Those who know me, my teamer is my colors, so we got some choices. Oh, now this is a useless, but
going for $1. Don't say that.
Going for $1. Just trade it in immediately, regardless of league. We got this guy. We got a locket, so that's some fixing. We got. Ooh, this is some Orzhov.
Yeah, you got some Orzhov stuff going on.
Going a lot of Orzhov.
Whoa. Okay, so already I can see that your pool's leading in 2 different directions, 2 opposite directions.
Now, Amplifyum is the rare, and Arachdos.
Obviously, the weak stuff is blue.
You got a comment. We're filming. So we got the split card. Incubation. Now, a little side note.
Yeah.
A lot of people went crazy when this came into out in sealed because incubation can be played in blue or green, being hybrid mana.
Yeah.
So giving a creature find ability to a blue was kind of nuts because in the current Is It Drake deck, you could just go search for your Drakes and your Phoenixes. So got a blowout counterspell, a spear, 10th direction. Fairy Duelist I like a lot. Got this guy. Got this guy. More Death Touch. Here's a little sneak that has won me 2 drafts so far and a few sealed things.
Eyes everywhere?
No, the...
Oh, okay. The
So,
Guridian.
little tidbit is there's actually more... oh, now that's a mythic.
Ooh.
That's a bomb.
Okay, now it's looking more Rakdos than ever, I guess.
I think it's pretty teamer. to
Sorry,
me.
not Rakdos. Yes.
Pretty teamer.
This
So
one, more
I
Gruul
might
than ever.
actually go 4 colors. I will see, but I might go 4 colors.
Wow.
But there is a little tidbit that I was saying is that Orzhov actually has more Death Touch than Dimir had last time, and it's a really good way to wall off green players. Because in limited formats, we know big creatures is big danger, and if you can trade a 1-for-1 or for a 2/2 for a 6/6, like in there, usually their mana cost is off curve. You're gonna have a lot better options. So we got. Here,
It's
let's
too
move
bad that
these
on the
piles up.
green you actually have nothing on the low curve, and you just have biogenic ooze. Unless you count,
Well,
these 2 guys as sort of steps along the way.
it fits into this. Now this is hybrid mana, so it does
That's
low
true.
curve.
That's true.
And Mammoth Spider in itself is like something that I consider it a staple.
Yeah.
I would always run my Mammoth Spiders, any spiders really, because reach is very powerful, and they're usually a little bit low on the curve in terms of value of the butt. The butt value is
butt value is high?
Is very high.
Yeah.
So we got this is good. We got see low curve green.
Yeah.
This is low curve blue.
Yeah.
The other thing too is this format so far I've noticed is very slow. So you can like a 4-drop and a 3-drop is actually very
That's a very good comment.
low to the curve. More Orzhov.
You'd say it's slower than Guilds of Ravnica.
This is a great uncommon twice. Oh, now see this is my favorite card in the set, but I won't be playing it in this. But the Orzhov set, I think it's just absolutely bananas.
I've never seen it in action.
all the effects
personally.
that you can get with that card.
Okay, we're almost there. We're almost at the very bottom of the
2 more
pile here.
packs. 2 more packs. Boom.
The din in the shop is growing as we approach the
More Orzhov.
Chaos League Mega Draft
Blue.
Finals.
This guy is a pretty good staple, especially in limited format. He just 6/5 beater for 5, undercosted.
Just don't
tags.
expect him to stay home
No,
and hold the fort.
that is correct. You want him in an aggressive archetype.
Yeah.
This guy is just value, draws you a card. I think this could be something good in League, just because like you're gonna get the 4-up pretty easily.
True.
And if you have it with it synergizes with Is It too. So if you can get the token
That
where
is
you're
true.
just getting like 6 tokens for 3 mana, it's pretty great. Just core removal. Here's another Gruul staple that's going in. This is just garbage.
Yeah.
Don't play that card.
Unless you're facing off against some sort of Golgari.
Well, my pool is
Deck.
good so far, so I had to get one bad one. But
Oh no.
Rampage of the Clans pretty
Oh,
much
no.
only fits into commander decks. I think
Yeah.
there's a modern deck that's trying to build around it where you play a bunch of eggs and then crack them for 3/3s, but I don't see it being any good in this format. But, you know, there's a lot of duds. And then finally, Imprisoned Order. Humongous, just a good general. This guy is pretty decent value. Mana sinks are always good. Plague White. Orzhov Guild. Ooh, another
Another one.
Errands.
Very good.
Oh, and then
Yeah, he's getting excited, folks.
I'm getting real antsy. It's looking like my pool. Oh, now here's a green guy. This is my favorite green guy in the set. Synergize with both Simic and Gruul.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty terrifying.
It's a pretty terrifying thing. The counters, the thing to note with this one, because there's also the Sky, Simic Sky Giver, whatever. He's blue.
Skygiver?
Whatever. Him, Zagana,
Yeah.
and the Skyflyer
Yeah.
all have the ability, regardless of whether they adapt or not.
Yes.
So they give you that as a static effect. It's pretty useful because a lot of people are going to forget about it. So this is just a good.
I already
Orzhov
see a
type.
bomb here. That's a bomb.
That's a bomb, but it's not in my colors. I don't
well-
think. Maybe later in the league.
I'd like to see actually a debate online about whether Lee should go Orzhov or Gruul here.
I mean,
That would be interesting to me. I'm gonna actually let you build. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go set up the tournament.
yeah,
But so I'll let you have your private thoughts. But overall, it looks like a good pool to me.
yeah.
Oh, you got to make a big decision right out of the gates, but I'm sure you'll do the right thing.
I think people who've been paying attention would say that Teamer is the obvious choice. But the question that I actually have is this: so when we play in a 60-card format, we're limited in resources. Should I splash for another color? Which I probably will, just for removal and a little extra power. Hey guys, Lee again. I just wanted to give you a final sign off for this special episode that we did live from the Mega Draft at Face to Face. and take a minute to thank our producer, Dave Greenas, who really had to put a lot of work into making this one come out. So it's kind of why it was delayed from our regular 2-week schedule. And also thank Face to Face Games, who sponsors our current league, and who also was so generous and incredibly helpful for the Chaos League, and that ultimately made it such a huge success. So I'm looking forward to playing you guys in RNA, but thank you for tuning in for this podcast, and thank you again, Dave, for helping us out. And I know Chris also feels the same way. So signing off from Magus of the League.